Well, firefighters have told me they have no water on this block, and you may be able to make out the EMBER storm that we're in the middle of right now. This house going to be a total loss. They have no water to put on this fire.
Also, the Santa Ynez Reservoir, which holds 117 million gallons of water, is currently closed because of repairs to its cover, and it could not be used during the Palisades fire. Although it is located in the middle of the Palisades, in the Palisades Highlands, and some believe it would have really helped.
You put out a letter to DWP asking, how is it that there was no water to fight this fire in certain places? We were here, and basically these places just burned and there was nothing that could be done. Does the state have any responsibility in that? Is there more the state can do to make sure it doesn't happen again?
Yeah, that's what I did. That's what the letter's about. Let's get to the bottom of it. Let's be transparent. Let's move this forward quickly. I'm not interested in the finger point. I want to know what the hell happened.
The California wildfire has now exposed the incompetence within the local government, putting California Governor Gavin Newsom and Los Angeles Mayor Karen Bass in the middle of all of these mistakes. Now, we've also got Democrats that are now doing their very best to keep the discussion away from politics as they're being grilled by reporters left and right. And was the LA fire chief who ratted out the poor governance over the fire department sacked? We got that and a ton more in today's video, starting with why the Santa Ynez Reservoir was closed. And guys, I just want to thank y'all so much for being here. Thanks for hitting the like button and for sharing these videos on your social media platforms. I really appreciate the support, you guys. Thanks for all the new subscribers who have joined the channel, and let's jump in.
This was supposed to be the water to put out the Palisades fire. This is the Santa Ynez Reservoir. It's the water supply basically for the Palisades. When they first started fighting the Palisades fire, they ran out of water extremely quickly. Wednesday, 3 a.m., they were basically out. And there's been a lot of talk on why this happened. So how long has this reservoir been empty for? Since February of last year. There was no communication from the Department of Water and Power to LAFD that there was a water supply issue. The firefighters, when they started fighting the fires, no one informed them that the reservoir was empty. This reservoir holds 117 million gallons of water. The fire department was using a water supply from 3 backup tanks, each one only holding 1 million gallons of water. They say it's closed for maintenance to repair the lid that's on top of it. I don't know a lot about reservoir maintenance, but there's literally no construction materials or vehicles anywhere in sight. Also, with a reservoir like this, you can refill it or start to refill it. So another question is, if they saw the Santa Ana winds were coming and we have this remarkably dry wet season, why was there no attempt to start refilling it back up? I know I threw a lot out there, but I think we need some answers, guys.
Officials from the Department of Water and Power admit that the reservoir being offline may have contributed to dry fire hydrants and low water pressure. You think? Former DWP boss Martin Adams said that the reservoir would have helped, but he's unsure if it would have prevented all of this damage, citing that there still would have been serious drops in water pressure even if the reservoir was in working condition. Is that their best defense? Y'all buying that crap? But I want you guys to listen very carefully because this next revelation will shake you to your core. Reports have now come out that Los Angeles DWP CEO Janice Quinones was aware of the empty reservoir and broken fire hydrants months before these deadly wildfires started. Quinones was hired by Los Angeles Mayor Karen Bass last May with a salary of, guess how much? $750,000. So here's her answer to a question if an overhaul of the system is needed, especially with the amount of destruction that we've all seen.
Chief, please correct me if I'm wrong, but we were trying to keep water at all altitudes on the Palisades, and I think about 3 in the morning, that's when the hydrants went dry above the Brentwood area. We are able to push water on that trunk line on the east side of that. And we have some water on higher elevations, 16 to 18,000, but at 3,000, at 3 a.m., all of the fire hydrants went dry in the Palisades. To your question of climate resiliency and how do we need to update the system, I would say that that is true. We were talking with the county supervisor and Mark on how are we going to change the way we operate our water systems for events like this. This is an unprecedented event. I think the 2011 winds was significant from a power outage perspective, but the fires have really increased the response complexity of this. We had crews trying to mitigate this, and we had to evacuate. We worked with fire department to try to get back in and try to fill the tanks again. It was unsafe to do so. So you're managing the fires, you're managing the power outage, and you're managing the water needs because it was an urban wildfire firefighting. So yes, we have to look at our system from a climate resiliency as a region. And it's going to be more than just DWP. It's all the water agencies here, including the county.
All of these missteps have inspired the residents of LA to call for Los Angeles Mayor Bass to resign. In a petition that's been signed by more than 90,000 people, it says the following: "We, the undersigned residents of Los Angeles and concerned citizens, urgently call for the immediate recall of Mayor Karen Bass due to her gross mismanagement and failure to effectively respond to the devastating 2025 fires in and around the city of Los Angeles." The petition also raised the efforts of firefighters and first responders, although it says that the city was extremely unprepared for these fires. So they're now demanding a few things from their local government. Besides Bass's resignation, they're also asking for a full and transparent investigation into the failures in the city's disaster preparedness, response, and resource allocation. Accountability into the mismanagement of taxpayer funds is also being asked for, as well as a plan going into the future so as to keep the residents of the city safe. Now, we're not sure if Governor Gavin Newsom is listening because he's too busy guesting on podcasts to save his crumbling image.
The governor's team reached out to us earlier this afternoon on Friday and said that the governor wanted to answer some questions and that he would have a couple of announcements. You have concerns that he might withhold disaster assistance when he becomes president?
He's been pretty straightforward about that. He's tried to do it in the past. He's not just done it here in California. He's done it in states all across the country. I mean, he did it in Puerto Rico. He did it even in Utah. He did it in Connecticut, in other states. Georgia, he got upset and withheld emergency dollars in 2018. Even before I was governor of California, he tried to withhold money down in Orange County until apparently a staff member, and this has been well reported, staff member said there were a lot of Trump supporters. Then he decided to change his mind. And so the rhetoric is very, very familiar. And it's increasingly acute, and obviously we all have reason to be concerned about it.
What's the disinformation you were referring to in the letter, and what is the correct information?
Well, I mean, look, what the president-elect was saying about state water project and the Delta smelt somehow being culpable of somehow leading to some of the challenges that we face down here was it's words. It's a salad. It's the form and substance of fog. It's made up. It's delusional. And it's a consistent mantra from Trump going back years and years and years. And it's reinforced over and over and over within the right wing. And so it's become gospel. And it's so profoundly ignorant. And yet he absolutely believes it.
Now, I just want to remind you guys that California Governor Gavin Newsom said that this isn't the time for politics. Do y'all remember him saying that? But then he goes on a Democrat-friendly podcast, and the first question is about Donald Trump. Really? Did he not just hypocritically contradict himself? That doesn't sound like he's staying off of politics for the good of Californians, does it? He's obviously trying his best to save his political career before it's over by pinning the blame on Trump somehow. Somebody please help me make this make sense. And I want you to listen to how he throws everyone else but himself under the bus. Then he puts the bus in drive and hits the gas. So in the same podcast, Gavin Newsom passed off the blame to local leaders and his own team. Here's a few quotes from the governor's time there. He says, quote, "So I'm the governor of California and want to know the answer? I've got the question. I can't tell you by how many people what happened on my team. What happened? I'll be candid with you. I wasn't getting straight answers. We had my team start talking to local leaders saying, what's going on? When you start getting different answers, then I'm not getting the actual story." So he's not going to take any accountability for the disaster, basically, because he chose to brag about how the state secured dozens of helicopters and prepositioned engines, personnel, dozers, in about a half a dozen counties over the weekend in preparation for the strong Santa Ana winds. But this isn't in line with what the LA Fire Chief Kristen Crowley remembers. In her mind, they were left high and dry by leadership, especially when it came to funding. LA Fire Chief Kristen Crowley decided to be transparent and admitted in a TV interview that the city failed them. After that interview went on air, Mayor Karen Bass called her for a closed-door meeting. A source close to Crowley says that the purpose of the meeting was to fire her, but that whatever happened in that meeting changed Bass's mind. Now, I'm guessing that she realized that removing the same person who criticized her leadership would not only lead to more anger for residents, not that that's already high enough. But here's my question, guys. Do any of you guys think that we'll actually get answers to all the questions that we have regarding these California wildfires? Now, I want to go ahead and redirect you guys' attention to a previous live stream I did where I reported what exactly President Joe Biden has been doing as of late. As the fires raged in Los Angeles, President Biden was busy sending $500 million to Ukraine. So while California is making budget cuts here, Biden is sending $500 million out of our country over to the Ukraine. Does this make any sense to you guys? I covered that video and more over there. So as always, I appreciate you guys' time. Thanks for hitting the like button and sharing this video. Consider subscribing to the channel, and we'll see you guys on the next one.